Today we are reading Don't Go In There or I Will Call the Police, posting this nightmare my wife experienced, and customer angry because she read the sign wrong. Let's try to reach 300 likes for this video and make sure you subscribe to enjoy the craziest and the funniest retail stories. For more Tales from Retail videos, check out the playlist in the description. Congratulations Mr. Fribble for the comment of the day, and now is the time to fight Karen. Let's do this. Don't go in there or I will call the police. I used to work the third shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. at this gas station in a part of town that was not the best part of town. The station itself was smack dab in the middle of revealing gang territory, and there will be occasional shootouts outside the station or somewhere nearby, so trust me, I have plenty of crazy stories, but that's for a different time. For clarity, I will refer to the people in this story as such. Me is me, TG for the tweaker dude, and CW for the co-worker. I had started my shift like any other day. It was pretty quiet, which was not very rare because, well, it was pretty late at night. Everything is pretty good when tweaker guy comes in around 12 a.m. This tweaker is a regular and I had never had problems before. He'd come in, go to the fountain drink station, take a little too long to get his drink because one could imagine how hard it is to fill a cup when you're tweaking, walk around the store talking to himself, and then he would come to me to the front and pay and leave. He never stole anything while I was working and generally was a pretty okay dude for a tweaker. So when he came in this night, I did not think anything of it. He walked to the fountain station like always, swang a bit as he filled his cup, and then he looks over to me and asked if he could use our restroom. I told him that it was fine and that it was unlocked. He shuffled over to the bathroom, drink in hand. I did not think anything of it and returned to cleaning up the store and getting ready for the morning shift. A long time passes before I remembered that guy was still in the bathroom. The bike he brought outside with him was still propped by the door. Curious, I go and knock on the door. After all, it was now 2 a.m. and around that time because I was getting ready to close up the store for my lunch. The conversation goes like this. Hey man, the store is going to close soon. Are you alright in there? Yeah, I'm fine in here. I will be out in 5 minutes. Alright, thanks man. I just have to take my lunch soon, so you will have to leave. Yeah, I do not understand. I'm sorry for taking so long. Don't sweat it, man. Take your time. I go back to cleaning up the store when all of a sudden, I hear screaming and loud bashing coming from the bathroom. It's about 2:30 now, and I feel as if it's too late to be effing with screaming tweakers behind locked doors, so I call my co-worker, who lives up the street from the station. I explain the situation to the co-worker, and he can hear the dude screaming through the phone. The co-worker hangs up and tells me that he is going to walk over and he will be there in 10 minutes. The co-worker arrives on scene and goes to the bathroom to talk to the dude. Again, the dude says he will be out in 5 minutes, and co-worker stays and waits at the front with me until he comes out. The tweaker guy comes out limping and hunched over like he's hurt. Hey man, everything alright in there? Yeah, I'm sorry it took so long. I fell asleep for a while in there. I'm really sorry. The tweaker begins to sit on the floor in the middle of the gas station with a handkerchief and start to tie it around his knee. Hey man, I'm really sorry. My friend just gave me a bunch of oxy and I just took them all and fell asleep in there. I'm really sorry. It's okay man. I do have to ask you, don't do drugs in our bathroom anymore because you're pretty cool and I will not want to have to ban you from the store. Oh yeah, I don't even really mess with that stuff. My friend just gave me a bunch of them. Tweaker begins to lay down and curl into a ball, falling asleep again. Hey man, you can't sleep in there. The store is now closed and I have to take my lunch. Here man, I'll walk you out. The coworker begins helping him up, which he kindly takes his hand and stands up. Coworker escorts the man outside and I get a wave of relief now that he is gone. Coworker comes back inside and we joke for a little and he goes to the bathroom to make sure that there's no needles or drugs that he may have left behind. Coworker comes back and tells me that the tweaker left a couple of needles in there and that he properly disposed of them for me. As the coworker is leaving, he sees tweaker sleeping right outside the store, which is not allowed. I watch as he wakes tweaker up and asks him to leave. Tweaker frantically talks to the coworker and then comes to the door and asks if he can come inside and get his diabetes needles because he needs them for his insulin. I inform him that we have already disposed of the needles in the bigger dumpster. Not what we did, we disposed of them in a sharp container that we had in the back office because we found needles in our bathroom very often, and that we could not retrieve them. I also informed him that due to the event that had occurred, that if he were to go into the bigger dumpster, that I will in fact have to call the police officers, and that I did not want to do that because he was a pretty nice guy. He reassured me that he will not be doing that. I took my lunch in the front of the store just to make sure that he was not going to jump in and grab them. Not even 5 minutes into my lunch, I saw his thin legs shimming over the edge of the dumpster. I immediately called the police, who arrived a couple of minutes later. It was kind of funny watching a police officer jump in the dumpster to physically pick the guy up out of it. Posting this nightmare my wife experienced. About 10 years ago, I was working at a large arts and craft store chain as a cashier for Christmas. It was pretty hectic on this day as we were down a cashier and only had 2 lanes open, so the lines were really long. When people finally got to me, I made sure to apologize for the wait and be as pleasant and fast as possible. Most customers were slightly annoyed at the wait, but were still pretty polite. Then comes Massive Jerkface, or MJ, from here on out, with his extremely pregnant wife. MJ throws a picture frames on the counter, too large and too small. "Took you so long enough? Why don't you have more registers open?" "I'm very sorry, sir. We are short-handed today. I'm sorry you had to wait for so long. I will try to be quick as possible." I proceed to ring up the 2 large frames. MJ very angrily, "This is not the right price. They are supposed to be on sale." "Yes, sir. As you can see, it is ringing up as 40% off." And I show him the register screen. "No, the original price is wrong. That is not what the sticker said on the aisle. You're trying to cheat me." "I'm sorry, sir. Let me call the frame department and see if they can figure out what is going on." "Do you think I trust you people?" And he turns to his very pregnant wife. "Go back there and make sure that they don't screw me over." For some context here, the store was huge. The frames were at the back of the store, and this woman looked like to be at least 8 months pregnant. A few minutes later, the price of the frames was confirmed by both my colleague and MJ's wife. I am using a calculator in front of him. As you can see, the register is correctly rigging up these frames at 40% off. He whips out his phone and does the calculation and realizes he was wrong. "You know what? I didn't even want these frames. My wife did." "Do you still want them?" "No, just the smaller ones." "Okay, no problem." And I proceed with the sale. At this particular store, in order to complete the transaction, we had to put a zip code in. I'm frazzled at this point, and I make the mistake of asking him what his zip code was per store policy. "Why would you need that? I'm not telling you." "No problem." I was so upset and done with this whole thing that I just proceed to put the store zip code in so I can complete the transaction. He's losing his mind and starts screaming at me. "I did not tell you to put a zip code in. How dare you do that? What is wrong with you?" At this point, his wife finally arrived back at the store. "We are never coming back into this store again after you treated us like ass." I kid you not. The next thing he did was pick up the bag with the frames in it and proceeds to actually throws it at me. Luckily, I ducked and it hit the register instead of me, and he demanded I avoid the transaction. He grabbed his wife's arms and pulled her out of the store, screaming the entire way that he had never been treated so bad and how he will never shop at a chain of stores again, etc. I would say after that, the rest of the people in my line were extremely nice to me and kept commenting on what a jerk he was. I worked off and on in retail for 10 years, and he was by far the worst person I've ever dealt with. I felt really bad for his wife though. Customer angry because she read the sign wrong. So normally I am a floor worker and not a cashier, but we had a cashier call out that night and did not have a replacement, so I was asked to work it. I agreed, but I must admit I am not a very good cashier. Anyways, I had a lady come up to my register with 3 sets of sheets. I ranked them up and the 2 king size sheets ranked up $14.99 and the full $11.99. Now, I set the table that had these sheets on them so I knew the prices of them before she even brought them up. The sign said $7.99. Yes ma'am, the twin size sheets are $7.99 but the largest size like you have are going to be a little extra. Well, the signs on the table said $7.99. Ma'am, I am fully aware of what the sign says. I helped set that table up and fill it. I was very lucky at this point as my manager had walked over to ask me something. I explained the situation and my manager knew I was in the right. So my manager took her to the table to show her the sign. They come back and the lady is still mad about her sheets. Now, to keep this in mind, these were 220 thread count sheets that were on clearance. These were no Egyptian cotton, 1500 thread count lined with gold. She then proceeds to stand at my register for another 15 minutes trying to decide which ones she wanted. In that time, I had to ask her multiple times to move out of the way for other customers. She would move, but as soon as I was done with my line, when she had one, she was right back at my register. She finally decides to put the full sheets back and purchase the 2 king size. She finally leaves and I thought that was the end of it. The next day, I go into work. I am on the floor the whole night helping customers and cleaning up. I got called to the front to help the cashier clear the line that was backing up, and you will never guess who I saw. Miss Sheet Lady. She comes in with her bag with the 2 sheets that I had sold her the day before and asked for an exchange. They were never taken out of the packaging, so the other cashier agreed. We cleared her line and I went back on into the floor to finish up the department I was in. I was in there for maybe about 5 minutes before I got called back to the front to help again. Sure enough, Sheet Lady came up to my counter. She was carrying another clearance sheet, but this was a different one at $19.99. Her tone when she realized it was me was super demeaning and rightfully pissed me off. But I attempted to stay in a good mood. Hi, I was wondering if you had another one of these. Let me see here. Being that it is clearance, I cannot guarantee that we have another. I checked our system and it was the only one we had. I'm sorry ma'am, but that is the only one we have left. Well, what about in a different color? I checked to see what other colors we had and found that the color she was holding was the only color that had been clearanced. Were you looking for another color that was clearance as well? The other colors of the sheets are not clearance. Yeah, but what about different sizes? At this point, I know she's just asking me questions to piss me off. We have a line forming and I can't help because Sheet Lady won't buy her stupid sheets. Sure enough though, the sheets she is holding is the only one left in that color. No other sizes. Ma'am, this is the last one. No other sizes are available. And where I can confirm that, with a very large emphasis on confirm, in the sheet room down to the left of the store, last room on your left before the turn. Oh, the sheet room? Well, why don't you show me where it is? Man, I really wish you could communicate tones on text. It was the most demeaning tone I have ever really experienced. Yes ma'am, right this way. So I am walking her and her sister down to the sheet room at a fast pace, as I am rather eager to shut her up and get done with her. But I can hear her talking to her sister about me behind her back. The most I got out of it was, this was the kid last night that gave me the wrong price for the sheet. He overcharged me and will not even listen to me. And then her sister says, well, that's why he works here. That pissed me off because if there is one thing I am proud of, it is my intelligence. I really don't mean to brag, but I don't really care much about anything about myself except for my smarts. About that time, my floor supervisor walked by and I murmured to her, I am going to kill this woman. My supervisor gave me a grave look and stayed close by in case I needed her. So we finally reached the sheet room and I showed her the rest of the full price sheets. Okay, and these are the only colors you have available? How much are they? This sign says $79.99, but I don't trust y'all signs. I scanned them and showed them my screen. Yes ma'am, they are $79.99. Okay, well, then do y'all have another clearance sheets? Follow me? We go over to the next room, into the clearance room, and I take them to the sheets. They ask me all the same questions again about the different sheets that are in there. After a long, hard journey of the sheet scanning and the meaning tones, I finally ask, "Do you have any more questions?" Finally, she said no. I walked away and told the cashier up front, "Look, if that lady comes up here again and is in line, you do not call for backup. You make her wait. I do not want to speak to her again as I am afraid I might strangle her." My coworker agrees. I walked off and occasionally will look up at the service desk to see if they were there. Sure enough, the duo was there and about third in line. At my request, my coworker did not call for backup until the lady was in her hands. Once she did call for backup though, I got to hear the final chapter of the story. She goes up to the service desk without any sheets in her hand. She tells my coworker she wants to return these sheets instead of exchanging. My coworker processes the return and even affirms if the amount is correct. The lady complies and my coworker does the return. She then gets mad at my coworker for returning the sheets instead of a coupon adjustment. My company allows for someone to bring in an already bought item and then allow a coupon to be used on it instead of at the time of purchase. It is stupid, but whatever. So my coworker has to reprocess the transaction, do the coupons, and finally complete the transaction again. They walked out of the store with the 2 sheet sets from last night and about $2 in cash from the coupon adjustment. Sorry for the bad storytelling or formatting or anything else what is wrong. This is my first time posting anything on Reddit. I just took some formatting things from other posts. Edit. So this happened on Saturday and continued onto Sunday. I went into work today, the next Tuesday, and one of the things on my to-do list was to reprice the sheets that were on clearance. Guess what? The sheets the lady bought were marked down again. The king sheets were now $7.50 instead of $15. I love how the world works. Guys, before you leave, please check our awesome I Don't Work Here Lady or Tales from Retail playlist. I am sure you will love it. Remember to help us reach 300 likes for this video, subscribe to the channel for more awesome Reddit stories, and hit the bell button to know exactly when we post a new video and join the notification gang. Thank you again for watching this 3rd episode of Tales from Retails. See ya!